Be'ezrat Hashem, Naaseh v'Natzliach. I want to welcome you to another session of our Parashat Shavua class at Shaare Ezra. I'd like to dedicate this class in the honor of Jacqueline Batalia and Tova Shindel Bat Alta. Also, that this class will be to the Ilu Nishmat of
Miriam Bat Nana
Saida. Also for David ben Zohari, Yaniv ben Rina, Michel ben Zohari, Aviv ben Vivi, Rachel ben Esther, Pinchas ben Riyah, Mercedes. Also, Be'ezrat Hashem, that the following Divrei Torah will be to the Hatzlacha of Yitbarach Shemo Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for the Hatzlacha of Stacy Esther Bat Miriam, Avraham ben Daniel, Yaakov ben Daniel, Avraham ben Verot Chaya, Guy ben Dina, and also for the Zivugim, Vinbal bat Jacqueline, Guy ben Dina, Yehuda Lev ben Tova Shindel, Sheina Henshi bat Leah Gittel, and Eli ben Shula. And Be'ezrat Hashem also, that Hashem bless all the people in the room that took the time out on a rainy day to come out and to be in a shul and spend time to learn Torah. The more that the struggle is, the more the reward that you get. Hashem varech atkhem v'sameach atkhem, and Be'ezrat Hashem that this Divrei Torah will be to the Nachat Torah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Amen. In this week's Parashat, it's very interesting. We're after the famous incident from last week's Parashat, which is the brothers breaking food from Egypt, bringing it back home to the house of Yaakov. And on the way back home, they realize that inside their bags, not only do they have the grains, but they also have in Binyamin's satchel, in his sack, there is the goblet, the gavia of Yosef. And Yosef masterminded this, planned this, and he sent people after his brothers to catch them. And when they caught him, they opened up all the bags, and oh, wouldn't you know, surprise, it's in the sack of Binyamin. They get arrested, they get put into the caravan or to the carriage, and now they're on the way back to Egypt. The Midrash says, on the way to Egypt, they're all sitting around and they're all looking at Binyamin, and they're starting to think that he really did it, that he really took the gavia. The Midrash says they call them Ata Ramai ben Ramait. You're a crook, the son of a crooked woman. Why? Because we know his mother Rachel did the exact same thing. She took the trafim. Remember the avodah zarah of her father, and she hid it. So they said, oh, maybe he did the exact same thing. As a matter of fact, b'siyata d'shmaya chashavnu lomar that the word gavia is Rashi Tevot Gam Binyamin Yatsa Armumi. That Binyamin also came out wily or sneaky like his mom. But obviously we know that that's not true. That's not what happened. Yosef was just the one who masterminded this whole thing. As a matter of fact, we know that Binyamin is one of the few people in the world that never sinned. He only died because of Chet Shel Anachash, meaning the only Chet Adam Harishon. That's the only reason why he died. He never sinned. So we come to now.
People that died that never sinned.
There's four people.
This reason?
Huh?
Because of this reason?
There's four people that died only because of the sin of Adam Harishon. At Yod Nachash. It's Binyamin. Amram ben Levi is another one. And I believe it's also Ishai, the father of David. And also the fourth one was the son of David. I forgot his name. Achi something. Aphiboshet, something like that. But he's one of them. Never made a sin. So now we have the scenario where you have Yosef, the king of Egypt, his brothers in front of him, Binyamin in shackles, he's arrested, and obviously we know that Yehuda made a promise that he's going to bring back his youngest brother Binyamin to his father. It's not negotiable. There's no such thing, Binyamin is not coming back. So it's very high drama in the room right now, and Parashat Vayigash opens up with this. It says, Vayigash elav Yehuda. Yehuda turns to Yosef, Vayomer, and he tells them, Bi Adoni ידבר נא עבדך דבר באוזני אדוני ויחפך בעבדך. I want to come and tell you something in your ear, and don't get angry what I'm about to tell you in your ear. כי כמוך כפרעה, because to me you are like Paro, like a king. This pasuk is so cryptic. There's so much going on over here that we'll try to reveal a few of the things that are lying beneath the surface. I found a few interesting midrashim that I want to share with you. First, we'll start with Me'am Loez. It says, "Yedaber na avdecha davar beoznei Adoni, v'al yicharapecha be'avdecha." Let me tell you something in your ear, master, and don't get angry with what I'm about to tell you. What does he tell him? He says, I'm going to come and whisper to you, v'ani mevakesh, and I'm asking you nicely, that Menashe ilchash devarim beoznecha sheish lo yishma. I want Menashe to whisper these words that nobody can hear it. Why is he telling him Menashe to whisper these things in the ear of Yosef? Because you can't approach a king. You can't come and talk to a king in his ear. As a matter of fact, Menashe, who was Yosef's son, was his turgeman. He was his translator. So if you want to talk to Yosef, it goes through the turgeman. And if Yosef speaks, it goes through him as well. He's an intermediary. You can't come directly to Yosef and talk to him. So Me'am Loez brings over here that he's telling him, I want your translator to tell you what I'm about to tell you, to whisper it in your ear. And I want him to tell you that he is the one that put the goblet in the satchel of Binyamin. He is the one that put it there. I am convinced and sure that he is the one that did this whole scenario. And I want you to tell him, I'm pleading from you, that he tells you the truth and don't get angry on him. Meaning Yehuda was onto it. They figured it out. That was the first thing. The Rish Tzion, Arav Ben Sion Musafi, brings an additional conversation over there that is also very interesting. He brings it from Bereshit Rabbah. He says that there was a back and forth with hints between Yehuda and Yosef, meaning Yehuda is starting to feel something is fishy, right? How does he know so much? How did we get into this problem? This is above the norm. Something here is concocted. So he's starting to talk. Yehuda tells Yosef, Anu bnei Yaakov. We are the sons of Yaakov. We have the ability to paint all of Egypt in the color red. Meaning what? Not crayons and not Sherman Williams paint. Meaning blood. They can paint the entire Egypt with blood. Yosef answers him, I always knew you guys were good painters. You also painted your brother's jacket, didn't you? You also painted that jacket with blood, didn't you? And you brought it to your father and you told him, is this the kutonet? Is this the jacket of your son or isn't it? They're going back and forth. Yehuda at this point is in shock. How does he know this? This is a personal family story. Nobody knew the story. It was a secret. Only 9 people knew. Only 9 brothers knew. So you can say with Binyamin, 10 brothers knew. Nobody else knew this story. It wasn't like something that you hear in the news or something in a newspaper. So he started to wonder. Yehuda got so angry that he brought up this subject matter. He had 2 chest hairs that stood up straight like 2 swords. He calls up his brother Naphtali, come. And he tells them, he says, let's destroy Egypt. Let's divide amongst us all the different sections of Egypt and let's demolish it. Because you have to understand, the Shvatim, these guys are X-Men, superheroes. These guys are not normal, regular guys. They were powerful men. They had extra human powers. When they say we can demolish all of Egypt, they're not showing off or they're not just talking. They really can do it. Shimon and Levi, at the age of what? Of 12 and 13, killed 24,000 men like it was nothing. These are very, very strong individuals. So Yehuda is calling down Naphtali and says, let's put together a plan to destroy Mitzrayim. As soon as Yosef hears this, he gives a signal to Menashe. He gives him a remez. And what happens over there? מנשה קפץ קפיצה אחת בכל כוחו ורעד כל הארמון כאילו היה רעש אדמה. Menashe did this special thing where he jumped, and when he landed, he gave such a big kick to the floor that the whole house, as a matter of fact, they say all of Egypt shook like an earthquake. Again, these are not normal people. Look what's happening over here. Yehuda sees that this thunder kick, this earthquake kick that Menashe just did is not normal. What does he say? This guy's from our family. There's no way that there's anybody on the planet that can do the same thing. This guy's part of our family. Let's check things. So Yehuda got very angry. And what did he do? שאג שאגת הארי וקולו היה חזק כל כך ששמעו חושים בן דן שהיה בארץ כנען וחיי אפרים בא ליהודה ושניהם שגו בכעס גדל כאריות. Ready for this? Yehuda starts to roar like a lion, such a loud roar that it was heard all the way back in Eretz Canaan, where the son of Dan, Hushim ben Dan, was deaf. But the roar was so powerful that it was felt in Canaan. Hushim ben Dan immediately ran to Egypt, comes to Yehuda, and they both stand there and they're roaring together. And with these two roars from Yehuda and from Hushim ben Dan, נפלו שיניהם של 300 מגדולי מצרים שהיו שם. 300 of the ministers of Egypt, the top ministers over there, all their teeth dropped. All their teeth fell out from this roar. And not only that, נהפכו פניהם לאחוריהם מן הפחד שפחדו. Their neck turned backwards. Meaning their teeth broke, they fell out, and their neck turned backwards from this roar. ונשארו כך כל ימי חייהם. And they got stuck like that their entire life. Their neck never turned back. From that roar, their teeth dropped and their neck got stuck. Furthermore, from this roar, from this שאגה, נחרבו שערים שהיו סמך למצרים שנקראו פיתום ורעמסס. The famous cities of Pitom and Ramses got destroyed from this roar. I saw it actually, I think a few years ago, we brought it in this lesson, that actually one of the famous statues in Egypt, the one with it looks like a cat that's sitting down with the nose is chopped off. I don't know I forgot what it's called. The Sphinx. That was from Shagat Yehuda. There's a midrash that brings it that it lost its nose from that time that Yehuda was roaring. Now, when the Shevatim saw that the anger of Yehuda and Shimon, and there were, things are bubbling up and things are going to start to get really, really heated. They started to, hit the ground with their feet, and all of a sudden, what happened? Everywhere around is now rubble. They're starting to destroy Egypt just when they're kicking on the ground. Yosef, who was sitting on his throne, nafal mikiso, he fell from his chair. וגם פרעה שהיה בארמונו נפל מכיסו. Paro also was sitting in a different castle. He fell from his chair. And this is why the pasuk says, והכל נשמע בבית פרעה. And the voice was heard in the house of Paro. Which voice? The roar of Yehuda. Continues to say, that when he saw that things were starting to heat up, Yosef also saw Binyamin, and his heart and his emotions got the best of him, and he decided to do what? To reveal himself. And he tells them, Ani Yosef. He reveals himself, Ani Yosef. And they didn't believe him. It was one of the signs that he believed him. He went, he spoke to them in the Hebrew language. He even showed them the Brit Milah, because at that time, who has a Brit Milah? Only the children of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And they were in shock. They stopped in their tracks. Now,
Why did he show them the Brit Milah?
to identify himself, because he wasn't recognizable. The Midrash says because he had a beard, and they couldn't believe it because it wasn't recognizable that their brother was thrown in a pit will now be a king. No, it was so unbelievable. So the chain, and not only that, they didn't see him for many, many years. So the fact that they didn't see him for many years, and the fact that he had a beard, and the fact that he was in a position of power when he was sold as a slave, or thrown in a pit, it didn't match up. So in order to let them know, no, I'm from the family, he went over and showed him to Brit Milah, because at that time nobody was doing circumcision in the world except for the progeny of Avraham Avinu. Interesting. We're going to start. I gave that as a small introduction, Baruch haba. Small introduction in regards to the back and forth between Yehuda and Yosef. But the name of this lesson is that it's always, always, always for the best. There's another level, another layer of understanding this entire interaction. If we go back now into the Pesukim, the Midrash says that when Yosef and Yehuda got together having this exchange, it was a main event. It was something that the Pamalya Shel Mala, the legions of angels, stopped everything, and they came to see the standoff between Yehuda and Yosef. We know that Yehuda is the lion, and we know that Yosef is what? The shor. It's even hinted in the pasuk. It says, Vayigash elav Yehuda, Vayomer bi Adoni daber na avdecha, daber beoznei Adoni, vayecha pecha ba'avdecha ki chamocha keparo. In this first pasuk, watch the first word, the first four words. The sofetevot, the last letters of what I'm about to say, is going to spell out a word. And then the next sofetevot, the last letters of the word, are going to spell another word. What are the chances that the last letters of what I'm about to repeat to you are going to spell out these two words? Vayigash elav Yehuda vayomer, the first four words of the pasuk. If you take the last four letters, you have Vayigash Shin, elav Vav, Yehuda Hey, Vayomer Resh. Shin Vav Hey Resh. If you take those letters put together, Hashor, the ox. Go to the next one. Adoni Yedaber Na, Adoni Yud, Yedaber Resh, Na, Aleph spells out Ari. What do you have over there? The standoff between the ox and the lion. Hidden inside the pasuk. But what is Yehuda telling him? When he says, Vayomer bi Adoni, inside of me, bi Adoni, I have Adoni. What does that mean? If you try to understand it for Pshat, it doesn't make sense. Well, if you take a look at the word Yehuda, right? The word Yehuda has how many letters of God's name? It has Yud, Hey, and Vav, and Hey. It has four letters. All four letters of God's name. Yosef, which we know he had his Hey added to him, Edud beYehosef Samo, the pasuk from Tehillim, right? Yehosef, how many letters of Hashem does it have in it? Yud, He, and Vav. Yehuda tells him, be Adoni. Or we could say, be Adonai. Yud, Ke, Vav, Ke is in my name, not in your name. I am going to be the king. I'm the king of the Jewish people. You're just the king of Egypt. So he's telling you, if this is a standoff, let's go. I'll tell you what my power is. You tell me what your power is. Furthermore, if you guys ever prayed in the Sephardic Siddur, you'll notice that inside the word of Hashem, Yud Ke Vav Ke, you'll notice, oh here, you have it over here. Inside Yud Ke Vav Ke, inside the Hey, what do you have in there? The word Adonai. Aleph, Dalet, Nun, and Yud. So Yehuda is telling him, Yud Ke Vav Ke, the letters that are in my name, be Adonai. Inside of me I have the Shem Adnut. So he's telling him, anywhere you look at it, I'm more powerful than you at the moment. But there's a deeper lesson over here. This is just the components of the lesson. Now is a deeper lesson for it. Why? When you learn the names of God, we know that Hashem has many names. Yud Ke Vav Ke is God's name for what? For Chesed, for kindness. It's God's name for mercy. Adnut, Aleph Dalet Nun Yud, is God's name for Din. What is Yehuda telling him? He says, be Adonai, or be Adoni. What is he saying? He's saying, don't you see what's going on over here? Yud Ke Vav Ke and Adnut are working together. You think that there's a Din over here, but it's actually a Chesed. Meaning what? In the entire story of Yosef and his brothers, if we zoom into one part of the story, it makes no sense. That the brothers should throw Yosef into a pit of snakes makes no sense. That he should be sold to the Ishmaelim makes no sense. Right? That they should put the blood on his jacket, on the Me'il Pasim, makes no sense. Every time we look at it like in macro, it makes no sense. When does it start to make sense? When we go wide angle. When we start to look at the story and everything that's connected to it from beginning to end, that's when it makes sense. So Yehuda is telling him, you're on the macro. We have the vision where everything is din, that we think everything is wrong. Be Adoni, I'm going to show you how everything is for the best. I'm going to show you the Yud Ke and the Vav Ke and the Adnut working together in this story. Now Yosef knows this already. Yosef knows this already. And only because he said this to him, he agreed to reveal himself, and he says, now we can work together. Because you understand, because I understand that what you did to me, when you put me in the pit, when you sold me to the Ishmaelim, that I was in jail for 12 years, the Potiphar, Eshet Potiphar, Zulika, and all that, I know is for the best. But now that you guys know it as well, now I'm going to reveal myself. As a matter of fact, it says, Yosef even calms his brothers down. And he says, Vayomer Yosef el Echav, Ani Yosef. He's revealing himself. I am Yosef. Ha'od avichai? Is my father still alive? Velo yachlu Echav la'anot oto ki nivanu mipanav. They couldn't reply. They couldn't answer. They were in shock. Nivanu mipanav. They got scared from him. Because they said, he's in a position of power. Maybe he'll want to retaliate. Yosef calms him down. Vayomer Yosef el Echav, Geshuna elai Vayigash. Come over to me. And they came over to him. Vayomer ani Yosef achichem asher machartem oti Mitzrayma. I am Yosef, the brother that you sold me to the Ishmaelim that took me to Mitzrayim. V'ata, and now, al te'atzevu, don't be sad. V'al yichar beinechem ki machartem oti hena. And don't let it be bad in your eyes that you guys have sold me and now I'm here in Egypt. You know why? Hashem sent me over here so I can support you in the future. It's a means to an end, I know it. I had to go through all that so I can be in this position right now. He's calming him down. He's giving him an emunah lesson. He's teaching them how to deal with life right now. Continues the same pasuk Zayin. Vayishalecheni Elohim lefnechem lasum lachem sherit ba'aretz. I said Hashem sent me here before you in order so I can prepare the land for you. Ulachayot lachem lefleta gedolah. And I'm going to give you the livelihood that you need. Lefleta gedolah, meaning I'm really going to take care of you. It says for a momentous deliverance. Mas lefleta gedolah. Over here he's hinting towards what? When is going to be a momentous deliverance? A peleta. Peleta is also liflot, to get out, to exit. When is that big exit coming up? We know when the Jewish people are coming out of Mitzrayim. He says, I'm going to give you the peleta gedolah. Don't worry about the food right now. Don't worry about selling me. That's the middle of the story. I'm here setting up the beginning, middle, and the end of the story. Let's go to the beginning of the story. What's the beginning of the story? How can all this make sense? How can the way the brothers treated Yosef be understood as something necessary and right and just? How is it possible that we can right now, that Yosef can find it in his heart to forgive his brothers that sold him and hated him, that he was sanui, that he went through this whole process of Eshet Potifar, being in jail for 12 years. How can you forgive somebody for something like that? On both sides, it's incomprehensible that both sides should be okay with what happened. In order to understand it, we have to go to the beginning. Parashat Lech Lecha, Perek Tetvav, Pasuk Yud Gimel, in Brit Ben Abetarim. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu promises Abraham all the blessings that he's going to give him. It says, Vayomer le'Avram, and at that point he was called Avram, and Hashem speaks to Avram, and he tells him, Yado teda, I want you to know, Ki ger yeh zarcha be'eretz lo lahem. By the way, if you want to understand what's happening in Parashat Vayigash, this is the beginning of the story. Vayigash is the middle of the story. Yetziat Mitzrayim is the end of the story. And it's all in these Pesukim. We already know. Just like everything in Judaism. We know the beginning, we know the middle, we know the end. That's why we don't have to worry about anything. We already know. We even have the instructions on what to do, on how to pass off the beginning, the middle, and the end. The problem is to get Am Sheoref to do it. But here, Parashat Lech Lecha, we have the beginning, middle, and the end. Vayomer le'Avram, Yado teda, I want you to know, Ki ger yeh zarcha be'eretz lo lahem, that your children is going to be a stranger in a land that does not belong to them. And while they are going to be this alien in a strange land, va'avadum ve'inu utam, they're going to turn them into slaves and they're going to torture them. How long? 400 shana. 400 years, the Jews are supposed to be slaves in Egypt. V'gam et hagoy asher ya'avod dan anochi. But don't worry, that nation that's going to enslave them, I'm going to deal with them, and I'm going to judge them. V'acharei chen yitz'u berechush gadol. And after that, they're going to come out with a tremendous amount of wealth. The end. That's the beginning, that's the middle, and that's the end. Where are we right now? Right? This is like almost like, like bullet points of what the story is. Now you want the details? Turn the page. Let's go to Parashat Vayigash. As a matter of fact, let me strengthen this point. Avraham Avinu just found out that his children are going to be slaves for 400 years in Egypt. What does he do? What does he do? Nothing. And just a few pages before this, Abraham hears that there's a land filled with wicked people, Sdom v'Amorah. And what does he do? He's negotiating with God. Maybe there's 50, maybe there's 45, maybe there's 40, maybe there's 30, maybe there's 20. Avraham Avinu, are the priorities a little bit messed up over here? For the wicked people of Sdom v'Amorah, you're willing to negotiate and pray. Is there 10? Can we save 10? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling you your kids are going to be slaves for 400 years. And they're going to be tortured. Not one negotiation? Not one prayer? Why? Because Avraham Avinu knows it's for the best. Those people in Sodom, that's his clients. Wicked people that need to be converted into the good side of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? For them, that's his work, that's his bread and butter. But when he gets the news that his children are going to be slaves in Egypt for 400 years, he knows it's for the best. He doesn't say a word. Why is it for the best? What's happening in this 400-year period? Well, the Jewish people are going to be the servants of Hashem. A spiritual work. Before you can be a spiritual servant, you have to become a physical servant. You have to understand what it is physically to be a servant in order to be a spiritual servant. Meaning, that work that they did in Egypt, what did they do? They embedded in our DNA, they made part of the fabric of every Jew the ability to be a servant. To who? To one God. To be a servant to one God, you can't do it without going to Mitzrayim. Without having a physical she'ibud. That's the only way. Because the entire world is Avodah Zarah. And Avodah Zarah was so strong at that time that they needed to go through that process. And by the way, that's only one meaning. The second meaning, a little bit more Kabbalistic that we shared previously in classes before, we know that there was, during the time of creation, there was a Shvirat HaKelim, the breaking of the vessels. And we know that there was Refach Nitzotzot, 288 sparks that were spread out throughout the entire world. And also the sparks of the Neshamot that came out of Adam HaRishon when he was in the river for 130 years. All these spiritual sparks all over the planet. 210 of those sparks, of those 288 sparks were where? In Egypt. What are the Jews doing there for 210 years? Picking up spiritual sparks. And there's more. There's more. There's a lot of reasons why we were there. I'm just trying to give you a little bit of a taste of what the job was and why we were there. Because when you go wide angle, you understand it. Avraham was wide angle. He understood the process. Because he went from the beginning of the day that it started to the end, which was what? When they come out, a people, a nation ready for one God, ready for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Forget the money part. They were spiritually ready. Because we're physical beings on a spiritual journey. The Jews have a different purpose in this world. And in order to fulfill this spiritual journey, there's a process to it. There's a method to the madness. And we're right in the middle of it. So Avraham Avinu, when it says that's for 400 years, he accepted it and he continued. We continue. Toka'o is this one here. Says in Mem Hey Pasuk Het, it continues to say, go back, listen to the words that Yosef is using. ועתה, לא אתם שלחתם אותי הנה. You're not the ones that sent me here. Not you, Yehuda, not you, Shimon, not Levi, not Reuven. You're not the ones that put me here in Egypt. Ki ha-Elohim. God put me here. HaKadosh Baruch Hu put me over here. Vayesimeni le'av. Remember? What did we say about Yosef being an Av? Remember that he had the power to be like Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov? Maaseh Avot, Siman Banim, the lesson that we learned last week, that he had the ability to do what? To create, plant seeds, to pass challenges in Egypt, that later on his own children or the Am Yisrael will be able to pass the same challenges, and not only in Egypt, but for many generations to come. He says over here, "Vayesimeni le'av." I'm like a father over here. I'm doing spiritual work. I'm setting up the precedent for the generations to come, so they can be protected when they come over here. In other words, what? Yosef is there. He's setting up everything for the spiritual success of the Jewish people in Egypt. V'aseni le'av. Lefar'o l'adon. Lechol beto u'Moshe bechol etz Mitzrayim. He says, I'm here, I'm in charge of Paro's castle and Paro's land. I'm a ruler over here. But the main word that we want to focus in on, Lo atem shalachtem oti hena. My view, Yosef is telling me, you know how I see the whole story of Yosef and Echav? It's not even you. You're a puppet. You're a tool. You're an accessory to the story. You're in the movie, there's the main character and there's you're supporting characters to the movie. Hashem, ki ha-Elohim, He's the one that brought me over here. And here is where I want to start developing the point of this whole lesson. Yosef over here is telling him, you're not the ones that caused me to come down to Mitzrayim. Because if you look at it, like I said, macro, how did Yosef come to Mitzrayim? His brothers. That's macro. Wide angle, you know that there's a plan, right? Abraham's children need to go through a 400-year process to come out the Jewish nation to ready to accept the Torah. So, who's moving the puppets? Who's moving the pawns? Who's moving the pieces? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. With Yosef, he used his brothers. With Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, he used different things to get us to the point, right? How did we get to this point? Well, let's say Abraham had Yitzchak and Ishmael. Ishmael is the psolet, Yitzchak is the ikar. Okay, Yitzchak. Yitzchak had two children, Esav and Yaakov. Esav is the psolet, Yaakov is the continuation. Okay, Yaakov, he had 12 children. Beautiful, Am Yisrael is ready. Now that Am Yisrael is ready, what's the next step? They got to go to Egypt. Each one was a piece of the puzzle. Now that they're ready to go to Egypt, how are they going to go to Egypt? Okay, we'll use Yosef. We'll throw him in the pit. The brothers will sell him. He'll get over there. He'll set it up. We'll be a king. All part of the story. In macro, terrible. Wide angle, it's the best thing. As a matter of fact, if you take a look at it, the famine. Oh, the famine. There's no food. Really? Yeah, there's no food. But what happened over there? Through the famine, everybody came to Egypt to do what? To buy grain, right? The money ran out. So that means all the money from all over the world is in Egypt. The money ran out. They gave the jewels and the diamonds. That ran out. They gave their cattle. That ran out. They gave their land. That ran out. They sold themselves as slaves. All of a sudden, how do you collect all of the world's money? Rav, famine. And how do you get it all into one place? Only one place has food. How are the Jewish people going to get out rechush gadol with this big fortune? You have to collect this big fortune. What do you use? HaKadosh Baruch Hu used the famine. He brought all the money into one place. Everything was part of the master plan. האלוקים הוא אשר שלחו לצורך מטרה מסוימת אשר יתברר בבוא היום. He says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent Yosef over there for a specific purpose that at one point it'll be revealed. Right now it's cloudy, foggy, we can't tell everything. When we divide each story separately, each thing looks like it's a major mess up by one person or the other. But later on, it'll all get cleared up as something that is clearly for the best. We'll move on to Lekach Tov. It says something very interesting over there. When somebody gets hit, let's imagine this. Let's process this the way we would right now, before learning the lesson. Somebody hits me, what do? Hit him back. Right? Normal. That's normal. Right? If somebody hits me with a stick, what do? I hit him back. Right? Or do I hit the stick? Who hurt me, the stick or the person? The person. Okay? There's a famous mashal about dogs. Dogs, after you hit them with a stick, you know who they go angry and bite and they go over? The stick. They beat up the stick. Right? They beat the messenger. They don't understand that what? That it's the person that hit them. It's not the stick that hit them. Abdel Kachtov brings it in a different way. He brings the Sefer Da'at Torah, and it says over there, בעיקר הדין, אין לו למוכה מה לבוא בטענות, או בכעס על מכהו. Going against everything, all the common sense that we just had, he shatters it. He says, basically, a person that gets hit, he shouldn't come to the person and hit him and have any claims, why'd you hit me? And he shouldn't even be angry at the person that hit him. If I stop right here, can we do this? None of us can do this. But look at the Da'at Torah. Look what it says. Ki leshaliach shalachu shel makom. Because in reality, that person that came to hit, who is he? He's a messenger from up above. It's not even from his side. To us it seems that what? Why are you hitting me? I have a problem with you now. Who processes it in a way to say, no. It's okay if you hit me. I know it's from Hashem. Everything is from Hashem. That's Emunah life. That's only if you have 100% Emunah you can talk like that. 99% of the people right now in the world would react the way we all said. Hit him back. Look at the Torah, what the rabbi says over here. David, when Shimei ben Gera came to him and cursed him, klala nimretzet. Imagine, David HaMelech is getting cursed out in public, a very heavy curse. And his people, one of his sergeants, wants to come and retaliate. What does he say? וכי השם אמר לו כלל את דוד, ומי אמר לו מדוע עשית כן? He says, Hashem told him to come and curse. So why do you want to hurt the guy? In other words, what did David HaMelech say? I accept the curse. Why? Because it's not him that's the problem. Don't kill him. So Hashem sent him as the messenger. But the curse is from Hashem. מסיבה זו לא הניח דוד לאבישי בן צוריה לנגוע בשמי בן גרה לרעה. Avishai ben Tzuriah wanted to kill Shimei ben Gera, and David stops him. He says it's not him, it's from Hashem. David HaMelech is teaching us this very big lesson that it's not the person, it's not the event, it's always Hashem. It's always Hashem. That's why in the Tefillah, if you notice, there's a Shtabach Shemolad. We always say in the Tefillah, Ata hu Elokim, Ata hu Hashem levadecha, Ata hu. It's so disrespectful to tell Hashem, Ata hu, you are Him. But you know what's the deeper secret? When you say who, what does it mean in Hebrew? You. Who? Hey Vav Aleph, in Hebrew means you. Ata hu, it's you. It's you. It's you. It's you. What's Ata hu Elokim? It's you, Hashem. It's always you. When you're sending people my way, Atahu. You are who? You are the one. It's not him. Everybody's a messenger. And that's what Yosef is teaching his brothers right now. You didn't send me down to Egypt. Hashem did. This is what Yosef said in the Pasuk. Al te'atzvu. Don't be sad. Ki lemechia shelachan elokim fnechem. Hashem sent me over here so I can support you when you come down. And not only that is he calming him down, he says, Shalachani Elokim lifnechem. Don't you understand that everything is from God? Shalachani Elokim, meaning you think you have anything to do with this? Hashem sent me over here, not you. Even though that it seems like everything is by your hand. And we learn from this, just a small little Musar scale over here, that a person shouldn't be angry at somebody that hurts him. Why? כל מה שקרה לו, הרי בהשגחה עליונה בא לו. Everything is from Hashem. Everything. The scratch on your finger, the bump on your toe, the financial crisis, the health scare, the zivug, the jail, the brothers throwing him into a pit. Everything is Hashem, from the smallest thing to the biggest thing. The minute you give something else the power, no, it's my brother, it's my sister, it's my accountant, it's the president. The minute you give power to something else, you missed it. You missed it. It's Hashem. It's always Hashem. And that's what he's saying over here. When a person gets a rock thrown at him, does he get angry at the rock? No. The rock is just a messenger of that pain. Just like another human being is a messenger of whatever Hashem wants you to go through. If Hashem wants you to go through that, accept it. And how do you accept it? It's very tough, right? How do you accept it? Especially when things are not pleasant, right? When you're winning life, Hashem is great. I'm rich, I'm married, I have children, I'm happy, I'm healthy. Oh, it's so easy to praise God when things are good. But when it's tough, what do you say to yourself? It's very easy. You have to be real with yourself. My sins caused me this situation. Period. Why is life tough? Your sins. Don't sin, you don't have a tough life. And if you do have a tough life after you're a big tzaddik, is because of what? Is because of what? Is because you're able to accept isurim be'ahava. What's isurim be'ahava? Afflictions with love. Which means what? That you understand that by taking on these afflictions, it's for the best for you and the best for Am Yisrael. But the minute you start saying why, pointing fingers at other people, you miss the whole point. It's Yosef's brothers that caused the thing, that caused the problem. And Yosef will tell you, no, it's not my brothers. Hashem caused it. Furthermore, there's a very famous book that's being learned right now across the world. Bet HaLevi, Ma'amar HaBitachon. Amazing book, short lessons, available in English as well. I just want to read an excerpt over here because it strengthens what we're learning right now. It says over here, וגם בעת אשר שלט האדם באדם לרע חלילה. Let's just say that there's a guy who has an enemy. And this enemy is giving him a super hard time. Yavin, understand that personal enemy that you have, that person that wakes up in the morning, goes to sleep, and all he wants to do is destroy your life, Hakol mito yitbarach. It's Hashem. That guy, you have no problem with him. He's okay. What's happening is Hashem is sending him as the shaliach. Ve'en adam hu rak hashevet. That person, look at him like he's just a stick. He's just a stick. These are very high level emunah lessons that we're learning over here. But if you're able to internalize this, your life will be different. You process life events different. This is a master tool to living life. This is a master key to life. To understand it's all God all the time. That's what Yosef is teaching us in this week's Parashat. Continues. When Yosef says that he's an Av, we said that what does the father do? The father prepares the footsteps for his children, right? ומכין לעתיד לבוא. There's another very special book, Michtav Meliyahu, that says something very interesting about this. It says, גם יוסף עשה כמה הכנות כדי להקל מעל בני ישראל תוקף הגלות. Yosef also did the same work as Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And what did he do? He prepared the exile to be easier. They're supposed to be there for 400 years. And we know that they stayed there for only 210 years. And there's a whole machloket on the counting, when we start to count, when we don't start to count. But overall, Yosef, what is he doing over there? He is making it easier for the Jewish people to go through that exile. How? He says, let me be the one who gives all the Egyptians the food that they need. Let me be that genius. Let me be that Yosef Tzaddik. Let me be that viceroy, that Avrech, the second in command, the viceroy to Paro. So like that, when the people come during the famine to Mitzrayim, they're going to say, remember that Jew? Remember that Yosef that had a master plan of how to save all the grains, and now we're all eating from him? Meaning they'll have a good impression, a Kiddush Hashem from Yosef. And because of that, Lo yeh asura al Yisrael, they won't do any bad to the Jewish people. And the truth, that's how it was. Because in the beginning, when the Jewish people were in Egypt, they were a welcomed alien resident. They were not slaves. They got Goshen, the fattest part of the land. They were able to graze their sheep over there. There was no issue for them living in Egypt. And he says, "Vata lo atem shalachtem oti kine ki Elokim." And when he tells them that you're not the ones that sent me over here, but Hashem sent me over here, and he didn't mention that he was sold. Now, over here we're going to learn a very deep concept. It's a Kabbalistic concept, but you should understand. You should know this. You should know this. The heavens and the earth have a relationship. Meaning the Shamayim and the Aretz have a special relationship. I'm not talking about planet Earth and the heavens. I'm talking about God and you. There's a special relationship. It's called Ita'atuta del Ela and Ita'atuta del Tata. What's Ita'atuta del Ela? This is when something from above comes down. Some sort of action from up above causes something to descend onto your life. Sometimes, in order for us to bring something down from the heavens, we have to do Ita'atuta del Tata. We have to do something below. It goes up to the heavens and it activates some sort of Chesed, Rachamim, correct. And it comes down, as Yehudit just mentioned now, that's the Magen David. What's the Magen David? Ita'atuta del Tata is the triangle facing up. We send up tefillot, bakashot, and then the triangle facing down is Ita'atuta del Ela. Right? That's how it works. We send up, it comes down. Most of the time, we have to, because we're in Olam Asiyah, we're in the world of actions. We have to create some sort of prayer, some sort of zechut, some sort of action below, and that activates the heavens and they send it down. I'll give you an example. You go in the morning, you pray to Hashem, and you put in your supplications for what you need, and Hashem, a simple explanation of Ita'atuta del Tata, that you are asking for something below, or you're doing some sort of mitzvah, some sort of a chesed. It makes an impression in the Shamayim, and it gets sent down. We understand that relationship? I'll give you another example of how to understand it. What's the difference between a dreidel and a grogger? The dreidel, we spin from up top. The grogger, the rashan, we spin from the bottom. Why? Because the story of Chanukah, the nes came from up above. Hashem is the one that did the nes. In Purim, we're the ones that did it says over there that we kimu v'kiblu. Kimu v'kiblu was the equivalent of Naaseh v'nishma. We accepted the Torah upon us again, and the rabbis that teach it. So that was something that we did below, and Hashem said, Ita'atuta del Tata. Oh, I see you guys are moving it, things are moving below, then it came from above. But Chanukah was a nes from up above. That was a nes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Another way of seeing from up above and from below. What is that connected to our story over here? It says, B'shat Estepeni, when you live in a time that God is not so readily found or available, like in the times of Bet HaMikdash, or the times of Dor De'ah when the Jewish people were living in the desert. And that's the time of Galut. When you're in exile, the Shekhinah is in exile also. En notnim matanot mit'utata del'ela. You're not going to get presents from up above for nothing. You're in exile. You're already very distant from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The only way you can get something from the heavens is only if you do actions below. The person has to activate his merits. There's no freebies, in other words. Do your work, and maybe you're going to get something from the heavens. Activates itauta de le'ela. Yosef did a very big action. What was his action? He was able to withstand Eshet Potifar. Right? That's a big test below. He should have been able to activate something from up above. What was the next thing? What was the next thing right after Eshet Potifar? He got thrown into jail for 12 years. That's the reward? The biggest test that defines Yosef is Yosef HaTzadik. Yosef HaTzadik got the title of Yosef HaTzadik only after passing the test of Eshet Potifar. What was his reward? 12 years in the jail cell. Makes no sense. And not only that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to what? Had to orchestrate that Sarah Mashkim and Sarah Ofim did some sort of a thing against Paro, a rock in the bread, a fly in the cup, in order for them to go in jail, so he can interpret their dreams, and then they can forget him. He just interpreted their dreams. Where's the reward? Still, what happens? They forgot Yosef. And through all this, again, let's think about it. Yosef at 17 years old is an orphan. He doesn't have a mother. His brothers should have done what? Should have protected him. That's a little brother, let's protect him. Let's give him extra love because he doesn't have a mom. No, they hate him. Not only they hate him, they throw him in the pit. Not only they throw him in the pit, he gets sold to the Ishmaelim. Not only sold to the Ishmaelim, he becomes a slave, a butler. After that, he gets tested by a woman for a full year. Passes that test. Gets thrown into a jail for 12 years. Not a problem. He helps out Sarofim, Sarah Mashkim. What happens? They forget him. And all this, you think he'd have a little ounce of what? Complaint. What did he do? Kibel et hakol be'ahava. All good all the time. Hashem, you're the best. 12 years in jail. I love you. I could just imagine. 10, give me another. 11, give me another. It's all good. Whatever you want, Hashem. I'm okay with whatever you have for me. They forgot me. My brothers hate me. I'm the only one in Egypt. It's all good. It's all for the best. Hashem makes no mistakes. Everything that Hashem does is for the best. He lives it, he breathes it. He never feels alone. The whole time, who do you hold on to when you're so lonely? When there's nobody around you, you're just you, Yosef, with all the troubles of the world. Hashem, we're tight. I know this looks bad, but I know it's not bad. Going through happiness and joy. That's Yosef. It's always, always, always for the best. And that's what he's teaching his brothers. Ki Elohim, God sent me over here, not you. Don't you get it? Don't you understand this part of the story? Don't go macro, go wide angle. Look at the entire picture. Rabbi Nachman says another deep concept. I promise I'll finish up with stories. Deep concept, but at the end we'll have some stories, okay? Remember he said the Fleta Gedola. He says, I'm setting up the redemption. I'm setting up the big exit. The Peleta Gedola. I'm setting it up. He says, Lotzi et kol asirei hamelech. He says, I'm going to free up all the jailed souls of the king. Who are the jailed souls of the king? Nitzatzei HaKodesh. all the spiritual sparks that are in Egypt. That's what I'm doing here. He says, "V'letaken ha'olam." And overall, what's our job? Who are the handyman of the world? Who is the special team that Hashem sent into the world to fix? Tikunim, tikunim, tikunim. Who? Us. He says, not only am I taking the nitzotzot HaKodesh, ela also letaken ha'olam. To fix the world. That's why when we say in the Chumah, in our tefillot, the Shem Yechud Kudsha B'Chushitev, V'dichilu Echim, V'Echim V'Echim Chadash, Shem Yudke, B'Vavke, we're doing Yechudim. Letaken et ha-mitzvah b'shosha. Always fix it. Letaken, 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 letaken. We're the spiritual handyman of the world. And Yosef is telling us, I'm doing my job. I know what I'm doing here. I know I don't belong here. I'm working. I'm working. I'm taking out the spiritual sparks. I'm setting up the big exit. I'm doing a tikkun olam. He says, ולכן בכל מצב של הסתרה צריך לזכור שהכל משמיים. He says, that's why, this says Rabbi Nachman, you have to read his words slowly. That's why, when you're in a part of your life where things are hidden, things are concealed, things are, you start to feel where you don't understand, it's foggy, it's darkness, things don't make sense, צריך לזכור שהכל משמיים. Everything's from God. You know why it's so unclear right now? Because I'm trying to figure it out with my human eyes and with my human brain. Stop. Whatever I'm going through is from God. If it's good and it's enjoyable and it's a success and I'm happy, thank you Hashem. Chazdei Hashem kol hayom. When it's difficult, ve'emunatcha balelot. In the nighttime, in the dark, emunah. Which means what? My sins caused me these problems. Own it. Own it. You're a product of your choices. Because of your choices is why you're here. And if you say, no, I'm a perfect tzaddik, then take the Yisurim be'ahava. You're going macro. Go wide angle. Later on you'll see it's all for the best. Understand that today's like this, tomorrow is a different day, and in the future you'll see everything. We learned this from Moshe Rabbeinu as well. Moshe Rabbeinu, after Hashem forgave the Jewish people for Chet HaEgel, he says, Hodieni et derachecha, I want to know your ways. Hashem, I want to know your ways. How do you work? What's the program that you're on that I can understand how you run the world? He tells him, I'm going to reveal to you the Yad Midot, the 13 attributes of mercy. He tells him, you can't see my face, you can only see my back. Of course, Hashem doesn't have a face, but it says, Panai lo tir'eh, you can only see my back, Panai lo tir'eh, meaning the front you can't see, you can only see the back. And the Midrash tells us that he showed him the dalet of tefillin. That in the back of the tefillin we have a dalet, and that's what he showed him. What's going on over here? It's very much connected to our lesson. Hashem is telling Moshe Rabbeinu, the way that I have this world set up is that you can't see into the future. You can only see back. You can only look on the past and see if it was good or bad. Meaning what? In retrospect. To see the future, that's not part of this world. There's no looking into the future. You do have the option of looking into the past. So for example, for anybody who was a 20-year-old and thought a certain way about this and about that, when they're 30 or 40, they turn back and like, oh my God, I'm so much wiser now. Now when I look back, of course it was the worst thing. Thank God I didn't marry that girl. Thank God I didn't open that business. Thank God I didn't do this. Thank God I didn't do it. At that moment, you're completely in the macro. I know a lot of my friends used to date non-Jewish girls. And at that moment, she's the best. I've never met a girl like her. She's an angel. She'll convert. Forget about it. They were in the macro. That's it. They broke up. A few years later, they finally get married. They have their children. 10 years back, like, oh my God, thank God I didn't marry that girl. Looking back, what a mistake I would have made. That's what Hashem is saying. At Panai, the future you can't see. But you can look back and see that it was all for the best. That's how the world is set up. But why did he show him the dalet of the tefillin? When somebody's donning tefillin, he's got two straps that come, one on the right and one on the left. The one on the right is for the side of Hesed. Hesed, we said, is what? Loving kindness, mercy. The strap that's on the left is on the side of Deen. It's on the left side. Deen is strict judgment. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him, when you see me wearing tefillin, you might think that chesed and Deen are two separate things. That the loving kindness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and his strict judgment are two separate things. He turns around and shows him the dalet. It's the same strap. It's the same thing. The chesed and the Deen are the exact same thing. It's one. The kesher, yeah. They're connected. There's a kesher between them. Excellent. Which was the same thing that Yehuda was saying in the beginning. Bi Adoni. Remember? Yud Kei Vav Kei is the chesed. Adoni is the Deen. They're all interconnected. What's happening here is all for the best. Yosef agreed with them and said, okay, yes, I'll reveal myself to you now. Because now you know. You know what's going on behind the scenes. Want to hear a Baal Shem Tov story? Baal Shem Tov says, כל דבר שיורד מן השמיים צריך כלי. Every single thing that comes from the heavens needs a vessel. Everything. For example, הכלי לברכה זו מידת השמחה. If you want to create a vessel that when Hashem's blessings come down, it holds it and it doesn't fall to the floor, what creates the vessel? Simcha. When a person is happy, he has a vessel to hold the blessings. Similar has been said about shalom. A person who keeps peace is able to create a vessel to receive blessings. But what the Baal Shem Tov is telling us, hakli labracha zo midat hasimcha. Anybody who's in joy, he creates a vessel that it can accept blessings. V'akli lekol hayisurim sheba'olam, and the vessel that is the component or the holder of all the afflictions of the entire world, midat ha'atzvut, sadness. So, Hashem yatzilenu. So think about it. You just got a big secret revealed to you. You want to build a vessel that accepts blessings, happiness, joy. We know it's not simple to be happy all the time. We know. But work on it. But chas v'shalom, some people are on, 80% of the year they're sad, or they're angry, or they have some sort of that's bothering them, atzvut. He says that's the kli. You created a vessel now. To do what? To receive afflictions. Chas v'shalom. Furthermore, Rabbi Nachman from Breslev in Likutei Moharan, Chelik Bet, Torah Chav Dalet, starts off with the famous Mitzvah Gedola Aliyot Besimcha Tamid. That's from here, from this Torah. That a person is a Mitzvah Gedola to be in Simcha always. Ve'larchik atzavut v'amara shma b'chol kocho, and to distance himself from sadness and from the black bile with all his might. Black bile is a special liquid in the body that causes depression. Look into it, how to not produce black bile. I'll give you a tip. Pachil shachrit, bread in the morning, pushes away the black bile. And also, all the sicknesses that come upon a person is just because he's not in happiness. V'aklal, and here's a rule, tzarich להתגבר מאוד בכל הכוחות להיות אך שמח תמיד. A person has to use all his power and all his effort to constantly be in a state of joy. And you should know that Rabbi Nachman's Torah is the Torah of our generation. It's a generation that it's very easily for a person to fall into sadness, to fall into anger, to fall into things that hurt the neshama. Because nowadays there's a screen that can really affect your emotions and your psyche. And people use the applications and the programs that are in this phone to hurt people's neshama. So that's why it's very, very good to pay attention to this, to make sure to always be in a state of happiness. So if you see there's something that angers you or something that makes you sad, avoid it. Avoid it, because by being sad and angry, you're creating a vessel for sicknesses, for troubles, for afflictions. Simcha creates a vessel for bracha. He says, "V'chol adam melei yisurim," and if a person has a lot of afflictions, he has to force himself with a lot of might to be happy, regardless of all the afflictions that he's going through, and to even make himself happy in any way possible. Afilu b'mila d'shtuta, even with things that are silly. Meaning, if you can't make yourself happy, go find something silly to do, to crack a smile, to break that feeling, that aura of sadness that a person might have. The reason why I'm sharing this part with you is because in this parasha we have something similar along the lines of our lesson that is connected to Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu, when he comes in front of Paro asks him, "How old are you?" Because Yaakov Avinu looked extremely old. He told him, "How old are you?" Yaakov told him, 130. I'm 130 years old. 130. And during these years, rak sevel yisurim kashim umarim. In all those 130 years, he had hard afflictions that were difficult and bitter. And he didn't have a similar life to Avraham and Yitzchak. Avraham and Yitzchak had somewhat of a pleasant life. Rabbi Chaim Shmulevitz says something very interesting about about Yaakov Avinu experiencing a bitter and tough and hard life. Because we just learned to do what? Take everything b'simcha. Take everything and understand it's all for the best. Yosef knew it. Yehuda knew it. Yaakov Avinu doesn't know to take everything b'simcha, that's all for the best. He was sad. He had a hard life. He didn't take it and say akol letovah. Yaakov Avinu didn't know gamzu letovah. How is it possible? So look what it says. If Yaakov Avinu would accept the afflictions or the difficulties of his life with love and happiness, his physical appearance would be different, and he wouldn't have aged as such. It's like, imagine you seeing a person, white hair, white beard, completely wrinkled, above his years. So much that you have to say, "Hey man, how old are you?" It's like, it warrants a question. And why did he look like that? Why was his physical appearance like that? Because the hardships and difficulties that he had in his life, he didn't accept with love and happiness. If he would have accepted it differently, meaning with love and happiness, he would have looked much younger. And he says the direct result of bitterness that a person goes through, and a direct result of a person that does not accept his afflictions, is that they age faster. Over here, Rabbi Chaim Shmulevitz wants to give us a story.
So how could it be that he was sad?
He was.
Yaakov Avinu.
Yaakov Avinu, he's a human being. He's a human being. Some parts they're angels and have powers unbelievable, and some parts they're just like humans. Where he wasn't able to deal with Esav, Lavan, Dinah, Yosef. It had an effect on him. But we also learn what to do and what not to do through the Avot. You have to understand that Maseh Avot, Siman Lebanim. Sometimes we learn what to do from their successes, and we learn what not to do from their failures. Rabbi Chaim Shmulevitz gives us a nice tip on how to deal with life. The greatest chesed that a person receives in this world, what's the best gift that a person has in this life? Life itself. That you're alive.
Shalom.
Chaim. You're alive. The best thing that God can do for you is give you life.
Yeah.
Is there something better than life? The opposite is death, okay? Depends. Would you rather be dead, Chas v'shalom?
It depends, Rabbi. We cannot just say whatever you say, yes. The point is, it depends. Of course, somebody can, in a concentration camp, or somebody that is be raped, or somebody be attacked, or something like that. It depends, Rabbi.
Okay.
You cannot
Concentration
concentrate.
camps and rapes, we have an answer for that. We'll give it to you in the next book.
Yeah.
But concentration camps and rapes aside, isn't life a great thing to be alive?
It depends.
Okay. It depends. I understand it depends.
There was a machlokes between Shammai and Hillel.
Okay. We were supposed to be.
Yeah.
Okay. Most people are glad to be alive.
Yeah.
Okay? I'll give it a percentage. 90% of the people in the world are probably happy to be alive. They prefer to be alive than dead. Okay? And maybe 10% of the world are having a terrible experience in this planet. No question. There's some horror stories in this world. But overall, the majority are enjoying the fact that they're alive in this planet. Now, if a person is just lucky enough to be alive, how can a person complain about a few things that go wrong?
What do you call it by being alive? What do you call it by being alive?
The opposite of dead.
No, the person can walk and is a dead person, but is living person. Is a dead person. The neshama is in the ankle, but it looks like a live person. It depends how do you
I think we
identify.
talk about people who wake up
Look,
in the morning.
you
with
hold
heavy
on.
head
There
down.
is
That's not
everything
right.
you're telling me is an exception to the norm. We can deal with that. It's not a problem. There's a million terrible stories in the world, and each one there's an explanation and no explanation. But we're not talking about that right now. The rabbi over here, and I'll answer you. I'll give you an answer for what your question, and after the class, I'll give you a bigger answer. It's just not connected to this. If you won the lotto, would you be sad if you broke $1,000 vase in the house? No, why? You're a millionaire, right?
But if it's not from your parents or something else.
I understand your file. I get it. Your file is I get it. I got your file. Okay? Meaning what? If a person has $1 million right now, does he care that he lost 1,000? No. When a person is alive, it's you as a millionaire. You're alive. Does it matter if something goes wrong in your life, in the big picture? If something doesn't go your way today, or doesn't go your way tomorrow, or some sort of a difficulty? In reality, you have life. As a human being, the thing that people fight for till the last day is to stay alive. Life is one of the most, it's called the gift of life. So when you're going through hardships, when you're going through difficulties, you always have to also appreciate the fact that you're what? Alive. Alive. He continues to say that Chazal tell us in Masechet Brachot, Chayav Adam levarech al hara'a keshem shemevarech al hatova. The same way that a person blesses on the good is the same way he has to bless on the bad. So it doesn't make, again, it's something that's hard to understand, right? If somebody gets a lot of money, he's happy. I won a lot of money, or I made a lot of money, I earned a lot of money, right? I'm happy. Baruch Hashem. But if a person now loses $1 million, is he supposed to be just as happy? It feels bad. In this world that we live in, you make $1 million, you're happy. You lose $1 million, you're sad. Is that a true fact? Right? Is this what most people experience? Okay.
So you see it as kapara.
Very good. You understand? Okay, now you're here's a spiritual person that understands some Torah concepts and understands how to deal with it. But for people that are not connected to spiritual concepts or understand how life works or how Hashem works, they don't invest the time to understand how the Torah and the Hashem works, it's hard to understand. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to take some basic concepts and give some spiritual concepts to it in order to deal with our lives through ruchaniyut, spiritual answers to our physical problems. Okay? So I'll tell you a story from the Magid Mimizrich. Talks about, he asked him a question. He says, how is it possible when somebody wins a lot of money, you're happy, and when somebody loses a lot of money, he's sad? How can a person be happy when he wins and loses? Okay. So the Maggid in Bizich tells him, to tell you the truth, there's only one person in the world that can explain this to you. He's called Rabbi Zusha, and he lives in Annapolis. Rabbi Zusha from the city of Annapolis. Go to his house, and over there you'll get your answer. Now, Rav Zusha lives in a shack. It's a house that's basically about to fall apart. Inside his house, there's rain dripping into buckets in several places. Him and his wife are walking around with ripped clothes. The floor to his house is his table. The floor to his house is his bed. And Rav Zusha is living a life of a pauper, of a poor person. And when you look at the people that are living in his home, everybody's happy, everybody's smiling, everybody has a glowing face, as if they're the most richest people in the world. So the student wants to understand how he's looking at the surroundings, he's looking at the dripping water, he's looking at their ripped clothes, he's looking that they have no furniture. How are these people have such a face of happiness upon them? So he knocks on the door and he asks him, how are you able to be so happy and so elated with all these hard afflictions that I see that you're going through? And not only that, how are you able to be mekayem? How are you making the beracha that a person blesses on the bad the same that he blesses on the good? Rav Zusha looks at him and he looks at him and he says, what are you talking about? He says, are you talking to me? Are you sure that the Maggid sent you to me? Maybe he should have sent you to somebody else who's going through really some hard afflictions. Not me. I'm happy. I'm the happiest man in the world. He says, I never in my life tasted afflictions. What makes you think that I'm the person to talk to about blessing, about afflictions? He says, Baruch Hashem, everyone in my house is healthy. He says, everything that I need, I have parnasah. I don't feel like I'm lacking a thing. So how do you want me to teach you how to accept afflictions with love? I'm the wrong person for it. So this rich person that wanted the answer, how do you bless for the good and for the bad, was so embarrassed that he saw Rav Zusha that has nothing in his house, and he doesn't complain about a thing. He has nothing in his house, and he's completely filled with love and happiness and joy. Shakol tov. What did he do? He says, from now on, itmaleh asher simcha gdola. He says, you know what? He says, how can I be mitlonen al matzavi? How can I be complaining about my situation, how I have all the osher and all the kavod, all the wealth and all the honor that Hashem gave me? And from that day, he started to praise Hashem for what he has and not for what he's lacking. Because he was able to see somebody that has less than him and be thankful more than him. In other words, what? It's all on how you see things. I think last Shabbat we saw a Baal Shem Tov story over here, and I'll repeat another Baal Shem Tov story here to strengthen this point. There's a gentleman that came to the Baal Shem Tov shul, and he wanted to get a bracha from the Baal Shem Tov. He told him, Baal Shem Tov, please bless me. I'm over 70 years old and I'm still working, physical work. I have to carry things on my back every day. Not only that, my daughter is married to a wicked man and she just got divorced and now she's living with me and all of her children are in the house with me. Please give me a bracha that should be matzliach. The Baal Shem Tov told him, Bekarov tirei yeshurot. Soon you will see salvations. The guy left. A few weeks later, the students of the Baal Shem Tov asked, they're always curious about the words of their master, the words of the Baal Shem Tov. They said, remember 2 weeks ago he told this old man, Bekarov tirei yeshurot? Maybe he saw yeshurot, let's go visit him. So they went around the town, they asked, do you know this guy? He's 70 years old, he works physical work. They looked for him and they found him. They knock on the door, and wouldn't you know it, he opens up the door and there he is. But he's there with a big smile. So they look at him and they tell him, oh, are you the guy that was by the Baal Shem Tov a few weeks ago? He said, yes. The rabbi said, you'll soon see big yeshurot, so I see you're smiling. Did anything change? He says, no, nothing changed, everything is the same. So he says, so why are you so happy? He tells him, the reason why I'm so happy is because I'm 70 years old and I'm still able to do physical work. He says, my daughter was married to a Rasha. Now she's divorced, she's no longer with him and she's here with me. And my grandchildren that I used to see every once in a while are right here and they're filling up my house with laughter. So what changed? Nothing changed. But the rabbi said, Bekarov tirei yeshurot. Soon your lens will change. The way you see life will change. You see life through Torah glasses, through a different outlook, a positive outlook. Which basically means what? There's a way to look at things at the problem or wide angle that it's all for the best. It all depends on your vision, and if you know that Hashem is doing everything for the best. Hakol letovah, kol derech mana avid letav avid. There's one last thing. You know what? I do want to mention this because we've been mentioning kids a lot lately. Kuftet. This might answer your question. You are a product of your choices. Every choice that you make, if it's a good one, it will benefit you for the good. If it's a bad one, you're going to have to pay for it. There's a concept of sachar ve'onish in our religion. There's reward and there's punishment. So when a person has difficulties in their life, know that, or difficulties that are going to come upon a person, because Hashem doesn't punish a person. If a person turns off the light on Shabbat, he doesn't get the punishment immediately. There's teshuvah, there's or punishment that comes later. Because in the time of making the sin, a person doesn't see the immediate results. However, Hashem exacts justice from that person in the future, from him or from his children. Later on in life, Rahmana litzlan, you have to understand that there is such a program. There is such a program that if you don't pay, the person's children pay. And most of the time, it's small children, Yeladim Ketanim. Why is that? Yeladim Ketanim that even never sinned, Shelo chatul ba'olam. They become what? Sovlim biglal avonot shel hahorim. They suffer because of the sins of the parents. As it says in Yecheskel, Avot yochlu boser v'shenei habanim tikena. The fathers are going to sin, and the children are going to pay for the price. For anyone who knows the Torah a little bit, we know that there's a thing that the children don't pay for the sins of their father, right? It says, "Hanefesh hachotet hitamut." A person that sinned, he dies, not his children. You can't pass on to your children sins. Ben lo yisa be'avon ha'av. A son is not going to take the sin of a father. Ve'av lo yisa be'avon ha'ben. And the father is not going to take the sin of the child. But it's very interesting because there's a technicality over here. A person who's already a person, meaning a person who's bar mitzvah, will not take the punishment of a father. But a child that's below bar mitzvah, those children are in danger. Because if the father sinned, and it's such a grave sin, it goes down to the younger children, and they might exact judgment on him. It's a very, very difficult thing to hear or to deal with, but there is such a thing. Why are we saying this? It's to strengthen this part of our Avodat Hashem. When a person feels that the Yetzer Hara is overpowering him, and he's trying to push him in the wrong directions to sin, he has to stop and say, stop. If you don't stop right now, you're going to get punished. And if you're not going to get punished, those young children, Chaz v'Shalom, will get punished. What a stop sign. What a stop sign. Meaning sometimes people, they go, they run through red lights. It doesn't matter anymore. There's no more stop signs. They've gone to the point where there's no limit to what they do. So what happens? Keeping Shabbat is not a big deal. Kashrut is not a big deal. Lashon Hara is not a big deal. Chagim is not a big deal. Everything, Tzniut is not a big deal. That's it. There's no more borders. That person has to pay for it. And Chaz v'Shalom, if he doesn't, then the person's children before Bar Mitzvah will pay for it. So people that find this out, you use this as a tool. Wait. I'm not going to sin. First of all, why? I don't want to pay for that sin. I'm going to stop myself because I know there's Sachar and Onesh. And furthermore, we don't want to hurt the children. We don't want to hurt the children. So, when we come to this lesson of Yosef, think about it in two ways. There's macro and wide angle. Macro, you look at a certain thing, you focus in on it, you see all the things that are wrong with it, and you say, this is wrong. You go wide angle, and you see that it's actually part of a bigger story. Yosef is teaching his brothers and us as well, Emunah lessons. Emunah lessons is what? Having faith and trust in the Kadosh Baruch Hu, that it's all for the best all the time. That's what we did, a lot of different types of Emunah lessons, different type of Emunah stories to show that Emunah is not one thing. Emunah is a bunch of different things that a person needs to practice in order to have that type of relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Yosef HaTzadik showed us that how did he go through all those trials and tribulations and become the viceroy to Egypt, the king of the world for 80 years? Everything that he did was besimcha. He accepted everything besimcha. We also know that Shem Hashem shagur befiv. He always said, Baruch Hashem, thank you Hashem, and Yitzhak Hashem. Everything that he was going through, he never pointed, Atahu. He never said, oh, you're the one, Sarah Ofim, Eshet Potifar. Yeah, Atahu Hashem, you're behind everything. And he also said dvekut. What's dvekut? Dvekut is a very, very lofty concept in Hasidut, where you cling to God. It's just Hashem and nobody else. Dvekut is that, yes, but dvekut is focus. When you focus on a religious life, when you focus on Hashem as being the reason and source for everything, it's different. Try to go through life for the next 24 hours and look at every single thing that happens. That's Hashem. The kid doing that, that's Hashem. My neighbor doing that, that's Hashem. That bill that just came in the mail, that's Hashem. My success, my failure, everything is Hashem. The minute you start Shem Hashem Shagu Befiv, it's all Hashem, it's all Hashem. At one point, you're going to have a shift. The lens are going to change, and you're going to see life through a different vantage point. Also, there's no life without afflictions. Everybody has a hard life and an easy life. It's mixed. Ever since we ate from the Etz Hadat, Tov Vera, our entire existence has good and bad mixed in it. Whether you like it or not, nobody has a perfect life. It's a perfect life in pictures and in Hollywood. They show you on Instagram and Facebook a perfect life. Behind the scenes, it's just like everybody else. Everybody has their hardships. You go to any door in your building, open up the door, they have their issues. Everybody has issues. But how do you accept your issues? Is it besimcha? Do you understand it's from Hashem? Do you understand that it's just for now and not forever? Do you understand that later on, in retrospect, you look back and you see it was actually for the best? That you live over here, now you live over there. That you worked over here, now you worked over there. That this was your friend and now they're not your friend. That you're fighting with this one and now you're in peace with this one. Do you understand it's all for the best? Is that how you process your life? And the biggest lesson of all is that once you pass all that, Tshuat Hashem, terrifying. Hashem's salvation comes in a blink of an eye. It's a test. Your entire life is a test. It all depends on how you pass that test. Every time there's going to be a different test. Every day there's a different test. If you wake up knowing that life is a test, and you say, Atahu, that's you, God. Behind every little thing that's going on, it's you. And you don't lose focus and start blaming people, situations, generations, whatever is going on in the world. But you understand it's always Hashem. You will be able to process life better. You will have better tools. You will do it b'simcha. You won't be sad. You won't be depressed. You won't have anger. And in the end, the Yeshua that you're looking for will come. But the secret is, if it doesn't come, it's still okay. You know why? Because it's all for the best. And that's emunah. Everything that Hashem does is for the best, and it's the best thing for you. Be'ezrat Hashem, that we take this lesson of Yosef, that he taught his brothers, that it's all for the best. And that we understand that we're only in the middle of the story. This started with Avraham. They have to go through Mitzrayim. And Sefer Shemot, when they get out, that's the end of the story. That's it. Job done. They picked up all the sparks. They don't need to be there for 1 second more. And by the way, the Jews are the dreidel of the world. We go round and round and round and round, all everywhere. Now we're in Europe, now we're in the Middle East, now we're in America. Why? We pick up the sparks and we go. We pick up the sparks and we go. And if we don't go, they kick us out. Spanish Inquisition, Middle East, get out, we don't want you. Soon you're going to see, all of a sudden America is going to say, that's it. That's it, get out. The Jewish dreidel now has to spin somewhere else. And where we go to Israel or wherever the next galut needs to be. But this is the final galut of Edom. Should be Israel right after this. And what's going to change it? Ita'atuta detata. When we start to make actions, mitzvot, accepting everything that Hashem has for us, be'ahava v'simcha, then in return the Yeshua comes. But unless you don't activate that relationship between the heavens and earth, you're stuck just not understanding. So, Be'ezrat Hashem, that we take this very thick lesson with a lot of Torah concepts and try to internalize it and try to understand how to process our lives, the happenings within it, and to be, as Rabbi Nachman said, liot simcha tamid. It's hard, but it's a master key to success. If Oprah came out right now and said, I had an aha moment. Meet me on this mountain in Tibet. I'm going to have a conference where I'm going to reveal to everybody the biggest secret to life. People will buy tickets and plane and spend thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, to go to this little mountain, to this little room where Oprah is going to say, the secret to life is to be simcha, to be happy. Wow, the whole world will turn upside down, everybody to be enjoyed. Rabbi Nachman really revealed it to us. That's the secret of the Jew. So Be'ezrat Hashem, no matter what it is, whether it's hard or easy, whether it's a lagid baboker chazdecha, meaning when it's in the morning, when it's sunny, it's sunny and it's good and it's things are going for you, lagid baboker chazdecha, to praise Hashem, ve'emunat chabalilot, to have the emunah when it's dark, to do what? To go through it the right way. Shitu libechem nechila, fasegu amenatal leman tisaperu edo acharon.